week 4 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers this week. The first guy is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine of the Tennessee Titans. So Ikhine last week got his first career touchdown, 4 catches, 53 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble loss versus the Indianapolis Colts. And now in A.J. Brown, it looks like he's going to be out in this ball game. And Julio Jones, we don't know for sure. He's been limited in practice, and Mike Vrabel wants to limit his reps as well, so he's not 100% going to play as of now either. So Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, next man up over here for Tennessee. And this guy, pretty decent route runner. But this week, I like the matchup a lot at the New York Jets. Obviously, the Jets, they give a lot of teams short fields turning the ball over. And Westbrook, I could see him have a similar line, especially if he's going to play a lot of snaps now with A.J. Brown out this week, where he could get 50, 60 yards and find the end zone. So if you're in a pinch, he's available, Westbrook-Ikhine, in a whopping 98% of fantasy leagues. And he's a guy that's definitely a sleeper at the wide receiver position this week. The next wide receiver is Hunter Renfro of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Renfro, so far, he's been a PPR machine here. And he's still available in 78% of fantasy leagues. So the first 3 weeks of the season, week 1 versus Baltimore, 6 catches, 70 yards. Week 2 at Pittsburgh, 5 catches, 57 yards. And week 3 versus the Miami Dolphins, 5 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. So Renfro, he's very underrated in my opinion. This Raider offense, they've been rolling, and they're going to be in another shootout, in my opinion, this week at the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football, where they see these two AFC West teams. They're going to go at it, and they got 2 great quarterbacks with pretty decent weapons. So Renfro in this one, I could see him getting 6 catches, 70, 80 yards, and possibly finding the end zone. And he's definitely a wide receiver sleeper this week. And the third and final wide receiver I have as a sleeper this week's Marquez Cavalry of the New Orleans Saints. So Cavalry here, last week he finally found the end zone after the first 2 weeks of the season. He's been a fantasy bust, and a lot of people drafted him this year, but he got dropped quickly the last few weeks. So Cavalry in week 3 at the Patriots, 4 catches, 41 yards, and he found the end zone like I mentioned. In the first 2 weeks, he did nothing. Week 1 versus Green Bay, 1 catch, 14 yards. And week 2, 2 catches, 8 yards at the Panthers. But week 4 here, he's got a good matchup versus the New York Giants that give up the 18th most fantasy points to wide receivers. But right here, this Giant defense in big situations, they just can't make the big stops. Cavalry, he's more the number 1 or 2 right now operating over there in New Orleans. Even though this New Orleans team, they're built on obviously defense and running the football with Alvin Kamara and a little Tony Jones and Taysom Hill coming in on wildcat packages. But right here, Cavalry's a speedster, and I think he could burn the Giants secondary for a long ball touchdown in this one. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him have a few plays, 70 yards and a touchdown, and he's a sleeper at wide receiver this week. So that's a few wide receivers I have heading into week 4 of the fantasy football season.